How's it going, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be ranking all of the albums from acdc of the Bon Scott era. I'm not going to be counting the first two Australian only releases. I'm going to start with High Voltage, the international version, going through Highway to Hell. So acdc is one of my favorite bands. Of course, I love Bon Scott. He's just the epitome of a rock and roll singer, which is one of their amazing songs. Rock and roll singer. This is a great band. It's just pure rock and roll, and I absolutely love them. So let's get into the first album, High Voltage. I love this debut from them. They just go right back to the roots of the 50s and 60s rock and roll so well, but they put that AC/DC spin on it of just hard rock. It's literally high voltage. It's an amazing album. Of course, it starts off with It's a Long Way to the Top, which is probably their quintessential song. This album will blow your socks off. It's that good. I'm going, obviously it's going to start at number 1. That's how I do things here. This is going to be like a live ranking, so I'm going to rank as I go. So, yeah, of course, get it at number 1. I mean, you have Can I Sit Next to You, Girl? You have, gosh, you got TNT, Livewire, The Jack. I mean, there are so many classics on this album. I absolutely love it. It's always fun to listen to. Alright, next we have Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. I love this album cover, by the way. I don't know why, but I just love AC/DC in pink. That just works for me. I'm not sure why. And they're at like a hotel. It just feels like AC/DC. I love that. But I also love the Australian cover too. But anyway, this is pretty interesting. There's a lot of great songs. You have Problem Child, which is my favorite version of Problem Child, is on this album because it has the extra little part at the end. I love the title track. It has some of their more bluesy songs like Ride On and Squealer. But I also I absolutely love at First Feel, Rocker, There's Gonna Be Some Rockin', and Ain't No Fun Waiting Around to Be a Millionaire. So basically the whole album. I love this album. It's just pure rock and roll. Man, is it better than High Voltage? Honestly, they're pretty close. Man, that's going to be a tough choice. Man, honestly, that's the thing of a lot of these, their first few albums, they're so close because they're so similar in a good way. There's just so many classics on every single one, so I'm already faced with a tough choice. Right now, I want to say Dirty Deeds is better than High Voltage, but I'm not sure if I can go that far because It's a Long Way to the Top is just amazing. The Jack is amazing. Alright, I think that right now I'm actually going to have Dirty Deeds just a tiny bit higher, and that's really a tough choice, but yeah, I think it's just a little bit better, mainly because of Problem Child and those classic rock and roll songs that I really love. There's Gonna Be Some Rockin' and Rocker, and Love at First Feel. Gosh, man, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be really difficult. Alright, next we have the amazing Let There Be Rock. I mean, my goodness, what an album. I mean, this is just rock and roll in its purest form. This is definitely one of the essential AC/DC albums that you have to have. I actually really love the original cover, but I'm going to do a different video about ranking all the AC/DC covers, so the album covers, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, it starts off with Go Down. I love Go Down, but I think it gets a little bit too long. They could have chopped off like a minute or something of that. Dog Eat Dog is good, and of course Let There Be Rock. Bad Boy Boogie, I'm not as high on. It's not bad. I love Overdose. But here's the problem with Let There Be Rock for me, is that there's a repeat of Problem Child, but it's not the full version. It's a shortened version, and so that really brings down the whole album because with these AC/DC albums, these early ones, they don't have a lot of songs, and so since one of the songs is filled up with that, I pretty much just skip it because if I'm going to listen to Problem Child, I'm going to listen to the one on Dirty Deeds. So this puts it pretty low. However, this album has one of my favorite, probably my favorite acdc song, which is Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be. So that puts it up pretty high. But man, I honestly thought Let There Be Rock was going to end up at like number 2, but maybe it's not. I also love Whole Lotta Rosie. Oh my goodness, that's an amazing song. Man, you know what? I'm going to have to leave it at 3 right now. I didn't expect that. Alright, and then we have Powerage, or Powerage. I'm not sure how to say it, to be honest. What an amazing album. The cover is, I really love the font and everything, and I love the cover, but I think part of the reason why it gets a little bit underrated is because the album, or the cover, isn't as iconic as some of these other ones. Especially this one. This is probably the most iconic one that they have in the Bon Scott era. And this one, it's just not quite there, but I love it though. But I love the font especially. I'm actually not a huge fan of this acdc logo that they use on Let There Be Rock, and that's the one that they've obviously taken and used the most. I mean, I don't mind it when it's like this, like the neon. That's probably my favorite logo from them of all time. But I just don't like the red and yellow. But if it's neon, that's fine. But I've never been a big fan of the red and yellow. It just doesn't work that well for me. So I love when they do something like this. The pink, I really like the pink, but it's a little bit boring on this. But anyway, I'm gonna get into that in another video. But yeah, Powerage, it's definitely better than Let There Be Rock for sure. And that's not easy to say because they're all great. But Powerage is probably the purest rock and roll album that they have, and there's like literally every song is good. There's no boring songs, there's no bad songs. I would say probably the lowest point is Sin City, and that's still an amazing song, but it just gets a little bit boring compared to the rest of the album. At certain points it's a little bit slower, but yeah, I think it's definitely above High Voltage too. I just love the pure rock and roll from this album, starting from the very beginning with Rock and Roll Damnation, and then you got Up to My Neck in You, you got What's Next to the Moon, you got Gone Shootin', you got Kicked in the Teeth. Oh my goodness, it's so amazing from front to back. It's definitely better than Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. It just is. You know, this is an album that I never get tired of. I never get bored of it. I listen to it all the time. Yeah, I could talk about this forever. I love this album. And it to me, it just feels like the most fun acdc. Maybe not the funniest, maybe not the, you know, it doesn't have big balls and stuff like that, but you know, and Lady and She's Got Balls, it doesn't have those songs, but it's just like it's probably the more serious and honest, and to me it gives me the best view into the thinking of Bon Scott, and so that's why I really love this album. And I think on this album, the rhythm section with Malcolm Young, it totally shines. This is where all of that shines. It just has that acdc driving groove, that driving rhythm on every song. It's amazing. And if you're going for those single type songs too, it has that with Rock and Roll Damnation, and I think that's probably their best song that's like a single radio song. So some of these other songs, I think with these other albums, there's too many highs and lows, and this one is good all the way through. There's really no highs or lows. Well, it's all high, you know. So anyway, all right, now we have Highway to Hell, classic album. I love the cover. What a great album. I mean, it's definitely different producer and everything. It has a different feel to the other ones, but I'm glad they tried something different. You know, I love the title track, never gets old. I love Girls Got Rhythm, Beating Around the Bush, that's a good one. Shot Down in Flames. I love If You Want Blood, You've Got It. That's probably my favorite song on the album. Love Hungry Man, Night Prowler. The problem with this album for me is that it has that overproduction. It almost sounds like Def Leppard in certain instances, and I love Def Leppard, but AC/DC is not the band you want that from, in my opinion. And so it sounds, and it has the same producer as Def Leppard, obviously, Mutt Lange, and I just think it's just not AC/DC enough. It's still, well, as compared to these other albums, it's not as dirty and raunchy in the sound. I think the lyrics are just fine. They're, you know, it's Bon Scott. It's gonna be amazing. But I just think musically, it got a little bit too overproduced. It's a little bit too radio friendly. But man, is it better than Let There Be Rock? Hmm. You know, I really can't say that. So I guess this one's gonna stay at number 5. So yeah, here we go. I was actually expecting Let There Be Rock to be higher for me, but and I'm still not sure about Dirty Deeds and High Voltage. I'm thinking about it, but I definitely have Power Age at the top. That's definitely my favorite. It's just I never get tired of it. These other albums I get tired after a little while, but I can listen to this forever. I'm not sure why. I'm still not really sure the difference of why it's so much different and better for me, but it just is. But yeah, I think I will have Dirty Deeds higher than High Voltage. I love High Voltage, but I think Dirty Deeds has a little bit. Has a few higher points for me. They're both so good. My ranking of those two can change any day probably. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your ranking below if you want to. And stay tuned for other videos where I rank the rest of the acdc albums, and I should be doing videos ranking the album covers, so that will be a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.